Welcome into Game Changers. Back after
I got to
a week
apologize. I wasn't here last week.
off. Neither was I.
You weren't there?
No, I wasn't here
Oh,
either.
Goldie did it by himself?
Is Goldie here now?
Goldie, you still there? Yes, sir.
Hey,
You know
look.
what? When you guys don't show up, we just cancel the whole show.
It was all hands off deck.
That shows my role. Okay, I'm like the Channing Tindall of the show.
There you go.
All right, Cunio's Chua.
Well, you only do special teams?
And Bo, you're Zach Sealer. So when it doesn't go well, I'm just way in the background.
I'm surprised.
I was holding out for more money. I got an extra $1.
Yeah, and you know what? I was standing in solidarity with him. I said, if they don't pay Bo, I ain't showing up. Goldie, you're an old radio guy. You can't do shows by yourself. You know what I mean? Like just a full 3 hours.
Old is right. Old is right. You got that part right, Cunio.
What's that football doing behind you? Where'd you collect the football?
So that is the Dan Marino signed football, which I got 1,000,000 years ago. When I pretty much first moved to Florida like 3 decades ago. And this, you guys will love this. I've had this forever. My dad actually got it. These are the tickets, the back-to-back Super Bowls.
Wow,
72
nice.
and 73 in like a little case with the picture of the greatest ever, Don Shula.
Nice. I thought you were a Giant fan.
Running a memorabilia scam out of his
No, I
Zoom
got
room.
that, and as you guys know, we never could show this enough.
Yeah.
The mini Stanley Cup.
The mini Stanley Cup.
Hi, Aaliyah. Let me hear you.
You got a mini Stanley Cup, but you didn't get a mini ring. I can guarantee you that.
All right. It's also, yes, happy 305 day to me because you two are in Broward, so you don't get to celebrate.
When do we get when's our 954 day?
Never. So I get to start with whatever topic I want. And Goldie, I want to start with the Panthers and the Stanley Cup, as we saw just there. Let's start with maybe good news, bad news. Is it the worst thing in the world that Matthew Tkachuk is going to be done for the regular season? I don't want to say, you know, I don't want to minimize this. It's important that he's hurt and we want him back for sure.
What's there, like 19 games left?
But, yeah, I mean, let's talk loopholes, Goldie.
Well, look, they're going to need him back for the playoffs if you want to win big. Now, this happened with Tampa Bay a few years ago. If you remember, one of the years they won the Cup, Nikita Kucherov was, quote, hurt. Yeah. He was skating like 2 months before the playoffs started. They left him on long-term injured reserve. And then last year, or 2 years ago, Vegas did the same thing, but Mark Stone was legitimately hurt. Matthew Tkachuk is hurt. He is going to be out. He cannot play now. So the fact that right now he's on long-term injured reserve, he has to miss at least 10 games or 24 days. But if he doesn't play again in the regular season, then the rule is you get the salary cap money back. I didn't cry about it when Tampa did it. I didn't cry about it when Vegas did it. If you can make the playoffs in the NHL without one of your star players making $9 or $10 million, congratulations to you. Most teams can't do it. It's like pulling out the starting quarterback in the NFL and still trying to make the playoffs. So what it's done with the long-term injured reserve, you know, all week with the trade deadline coming, it gives the Panthers more flexibility because in the NHL, in the playoffs, there is no salary cap. So you're allowed to exceed that salary cap during the regular season if you have a guy that's out. But make no mistake, Matthew Tkachuk is a key part of this. And in late April, when they go to the playoffs, they're going to need him, and hopefully he's 100%.
So, Goldie, was he hurt going into the Four Nation tournament, or did he actually get hurt in the Four Nations tournament?
Well, I'll say this, Bo. I think he's one of those guys, and you know, the way he plays and the fact that he's played so many games like all these guys the last 2 years, I really don't think he's ever completely 100%. Right. But clearly, he was pretty healthy, very healthy, I'll say, you know, going into that tournament. Yeah. And obviously, in that first game against Canada, who knows if it was during the fight, because remember, as the games went on, he would play every game but did not finish every game.
So this injury leads us to what's next for the Panthers and what's next for hockey. You got the trade deadline on Friday. Bill Zito worked his magic once again. He got rid of Spency.
Well, why did you do that?
I texted Bo.
Why did you do that?
I said, Bo,
Spency was my guy.
And he said, who do I need to rip? And I said, Goldie. So, Goldie, look, Spencer Knight, obviously, he's not playing. He's on the bench. He's an asset, so they moved him. They got something for him. But do you think Bill Zito fills that $8 million hole they now have because Tkachuk's hurt?
Well, they certainly can. And, you know, back to Spence, first of all, as soon as you called him Spency, they end up trading because nobody calls him Spency.
I call him
And Kim Bokamper, Bo, you hit it on the head when we had that conversation about a month ago. you said everybody hold on, and I spoke to Paul Maurice today, and he said the same thing. Sergei Bobrovsky is the goalie.
Yep.
He's the superstar. So whoever the backup is clearly the backup for the foreseeable future. And amazingly, at 36, Sergei's playing as well as he's ever played, and he's got another year on his contract. So once again, the Panthers go out. Bill Zito goes out. He doesn't touch the core of this team, and he's able to add a core player. He's done that numerous times. And it's another player like the new backup goaltender, Vitek Vanacek from San Jose. It's a player that, for whatever reason, it wasn't working out with their current team. That team is rebuilding, and a veteran guy wants to go to a contender. This is what the Panthers do. They buy low. So the fact that it gives them even more freedom with the money is just a great thing. And they continue to add to this team and try to win a championship every single year.
Those two moves, Goldie, does that extend their window, or does it shorten their window to pull another Stanley Cup in?
Well, I don't think the goalie move shortens the window, okay? Because Spencer Knight, as talented as he is, he's not playing the next 16 months anyway. This is Sergei Bobrovsky's show, at least until that time, and then they could always re-sign him. Seth Jones, I don't know if it extends the window, Bo, time-wise, but it opens the window more. You think about it, okay, and at times you got that top power play unit. Jones, Barkov, Tkachuk, Reinhart, Verhaeghe. All of them are signed for at least the next 5 years. And all these guys are in their prime. So, it may not extend the window longer, but it opens up bigger because you add another impact player without touching the core of your team.
It gives them a better shot this year.
And next year, and the year after, and year 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, while you two gush over the window, I'm gonna work on finding a.
You got to talk about the window.
A Spency jersey.
Spency.
He killed it for the Blackhawks the other night, and that's what we are here. We're Spency stands, and that's how we'll stay. Yeah.
Mike, you'll love this at practice. Mackie Samoskevich was, chatting with us, and someone jokingly said to him, "How does it feel to be the last Panthers first-round draft pick?" Like literally, they find these guys in their mid-20s on these other teams for the foreseeable future. In the NHL, anyway, who cares about first-round picks? Those guys might play for you 4 or 5 years down the road.
By the way, what
was
your nickname when you were sitting on the bench in Devonair when the games were going on?
I wasn't on the bench.
I
was starting catcher, sir. All-star.
Starting catcher?
Yeah.
In the bullpen?
No.
Oh, really?
They have bullpen catchers and little. Okay. This is not fun for me anymore. Still to come on Game Changers. We're going to talk a little bit of heat. Bam Adebayo made some franchise hit. You know what? We're fighting in the break, hockey style, like the Tkachuks did and the Four Nations. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Game Changers. We had some Heat franchise history this week, guys. Bam Adebayo pulled down a double-double.
Someone played 2 games in a week?
Yeah, someone played 2 games in a week. But it was career double-double number 222. That is the most in Heat franchise history. Bo, you've seen a lot of Heat games up close and personal. But when you think of Bam, are you ready to put him in the all-time great Heat player categories just yet?
I think he's got to be here a little longer. And I think, he kind of came off a little slow, started building his momentum. Now they got him shooting 3-pointers and but I think, look, if he stays in place for another 4 or 5 years, then I think certainly he's in that category of those guys. I like the way he plays. I like what he brings to the team, and I think he's got those intangibles that Pat Riley likes, and he's a worker.
Yeah. He's
going to come in and work, and he's going to play, and he's going to play hard for you. And that almost, that is the core of what those guys, all those things were hanging, all those jerseys hanging in the rafters, all have that component. They work hard and they play hard.
Yeah, he's certainly on the right path. Goldie, what do you think?
I think it was awesome that my fellow Syracuse Orange, Ronnie Cycli, was there for it. I thought that was very cool. No doubt. I mean, what Bam is now taking the mantle that heat culture, which really started when Pat Riley walked through the door nearly 30 years ago, and he goes out and he gets Alonzo Mourning and says, hey, our top guy needs to be tough, needs to be talented, needs to practice hard, needs to be the first guy in there. And Bam certainly fits that mold. Now, look, they probably got to do a little bit more winning while he's there in order to really cement it, because you've got some Hall of Fame caliber players that have played for this franchise that have got championship rings. But no doubt, I think Bam is right up there. He's in there. It's a complete buy-in, and I think he's a great team guy.
Does that mean Rory Sparrow's never going to get one in the rafters?
Goal number 2, Rory Sparrow. It's going to be tough for him, Bo. Yeah.
So I don't think Bam will crack the top 5 yet, and maybe he does it if he wins some championships, but I will give him credit. He has been to 2 finals, and he does have some signature playoff moments, like the block against Jason Tatum. These are things that they put on T-shirts. So he has done enough, I think, to, in this point, won gold medals with Team USA. He's already up in the rafters.
Look at there goes Ronnie. So look at that.
Yeah.
Kevin Lockery.
In my mind, he's past Ronnie Cycli. He's top 10. Is he jersey retire worthy yet? I think he's still
So let me throw you this, Goldie, because you're a Syracuse guy. If Ronnie Cycli wasn't on a brand new team, would he be thought of better?
Yeah, that's another interesting thing, because, Ronnie was a heck of a player.
He was.
I mean, Cycli's probably a little bit underrated. But, with the Miami Heat, it's almost like, the year 96,
Pearl Washington and Ronnie Cycli in the paint.
Right.
Yeah, you don't remember a lot of it before Pat Riley got there, because there was just so much losing. So you ask a lot of people about the double-double, and they probably even know that Ronnie Cycli was the franchise record holder at the time.
Yeah, Ronnie Cycli, I think, falls into that category of being good that you get punished because of the way the drafts are set up, right? You're an expansion team or a team that's not very good. You're a good player, great player, would be great anywhere.
Those are some bad teams. Those were some bad teams, Goldie.
Tough times.
They were rough to watch.
It was a struggle.
They were fun, though.
All right, the Miami Hurricanes football team back on the practice field for spring ball. We're going to get into that, what Carson Beck has to do to prove he can carry this team. We'll talk about it.
Got to keep his cars is what he's got to do.
Oh, come on, man.
What?
Welcome back into Game Changers, guys. The Canes have hit the practice field for spring football. Carson Beck, their shiny new quarterback from Georgia, who's getting paid a lot of money to be down here in South Florida. He's out there, but not even handing the ball off. He was not going to throw until later in the summer. Goldie, how worried are you about this? Because I remember when Cam Ward came to town and I interviewed him, he was doing like 5 a.m. throwing sessions and film sessions with some of his teammates. He was trying to catch up as fast as he can, and we saw the end result. How far behind do you think Carson Beck will be by the time the fall rolls around?
Well, first of all, I think there's so much to unpack in your statement just because it's so normal now.
Yeah.
He's getting paid a lot of money to be down here. He's the quarterback, not of the Miami Dolphins. It's incredible the way the whole thing works, right? The Canes have a guy that's going to go at the top of the draft, and then you step right in and replace him. Now, I think it's a little different situation. I'm going to give Carson Beck the scholarship, Cunio, because when Cam Ward came in, we knew he was a great player. But he had been at Washington State. I think he had a little something to prove. Carson Beck has been through all of this. He was recruited. He played for the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC. So I feel like at least at this point, maybe it's not as much of a, prove it and show me thing as maybe Cam Ward, had to do at that time. But make no mistake, and we're going to find this out. If Carson Beck,
I look at him, and there's something about him that I just don't see it. He was on a great football team in Georgia. They got great players here. I don't know, with it, but Goldie, there was an old statement that Jim Mandich used to say. I put that to my nosy, it don't smell so rosy. So I'm not sure. I'm a little kind of skeptical about what he's going to do and if he's going to be able to perform at the level of Cam Ward, who's possibly going to be the first pick in the draft, and deservedly so.
So there's a couple of things working against Carson Beck, I think, because he came from Georgia, because going into last year he was seen as the possible number 1 overall pick, and then he had a regression, not to mention the injuries. There's all these expectations compounded by the injury factor that are working against him, and now being with a new, this is like his 3rd or 4th offensive coordinator as well. A lot of people think the reason he had a drop off at Georgia was because they had a change in their offense. And so now you're just doing that again in a new place. I think it's going to be really tough for him to live up to expectations.
Well, especially when you're coming off of a guy that was a Heisman guy, a guy that's going to be either the 1st or 2nd pick in the draft, and whether that's right or not, I think it's a little high for the quality of the players they are, but that's another story. But it is, and a team that has had really good players over the last 4 or 5 years, dynamite players there that haven't been able to crack it and get into the playoffs and be challenging for a national championship, which is the only thing that's going to make this season successful.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be real fair. Honestly, I know everybody's expectations are high. To compare Carson Beck, Cam Ward had one of the great years we've seen over the last couple of decades of any quarterback
ever
in college football. And make no mistake, a lot of this season is also going to be on the coaching and on the recruiting of the rest of the team, because without Cam Ward last year, we all know there were a lot of 40 to 35 games last year. You can't expect Carson Beck to do it like Cam Ward did with his arm and with his legs. I think it's just unrealistic.
There's a young quarterback coming up behind him, Luke Nickel, who's going to be a freshman this year. They just need to get it ready for him. To me, that's the next in line.
So I may have this name. Who was the guy? Was it Stedman Bennett? Was the guy before?
Stetson
Bennett, and played really well, right?
Yeah.
And where's he now?
He's I believe he's playing for the Rams.
Who's he playing? But is he playing?
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I see out of Beck, that kind of a guy that can, when he's got good guys around him, good team around, doesn't need to be a hero, doesn't need to throw the ball deep down the field, then you can it'll work for you. I just don't see him being that guy that can put the team on his shoulders and take him down the field, much like we saw Cam Ward do time and time and time and time again.
First and foremost, I think Beck needs a defense, but that's a whole story for another day.
What are you, picking on the Canes now?
No, I'm not. I'm keeping it real. When we come back, we're going to talk about another former Cane, Jimmy Johnson. He's retiring from TV. We're going to talk about his legacy when we come back. Welcome back into Game Changers. One of my favorite personalities of all time is calling it quits from Fox Sports. Yeah, no, not you.
Thank you, Mike.
Not you.
I appreciate that.
Listen, I would replace either of you with Jimmy Johnson like that. Don't even tempt me. I'm just kidding. I would never lose you too. All right, but I do have to ask you, and then Goldie, I'll start with you. Let's talk about Jimmy Johnson's legacy, because he's calling it quits. He's going to go hang out on his boat and go fishing, and God bless him, he should. Do you think of him as a Hurricane, a Cowboy, a Dolphin, or a broadcaster?
Okay, well, let's just get rid of Dolphin, because that's, the furthest. Obviously, that's the furthest you can get. For me,
that's a little touchy subject, too.
Yeah, well, we know that. We know that situation. For me, I think of him as the best coach that made the transition. That was the college champion, and then was able to do it in the NFL. He was one of those guys that, he treated the college players like they were pro players, like they were men when he was in college. And keep this in mind. In the 1980s, that was not the thing to do. That coach in college in the 1980s was the iron fist, the CEO. You do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it. And Jimmy Johnson basically gave them the NFL modem to Michael Irvin, all those guys. Hey, fellas, you show up on Saturday, we figure the rest out. So that's the way I look at Jimmy. Obviously, some younger people probably look at him as a broadcaster because he's been doing it for so long, and he was terrific in that role as well. But that's the thing I remember about Jimmy Johnson, and I'll think about Jimmy Johnson. He made that transition better than anybody ever.
I'll think about him as a University of Miami coach.
Yeah.
I mean, the teams that he had there, dominant teams, running over Notre Dame, the players that he had in there, with the swagger that he's the guy that brought the swagger in there, playing the way they played. And I'll tell you what, when he was here, God bless Howard Snellenberger, because he kind of got the thing going. But when Jimmy was here, that was must-see TV. Every Saturday afternoon, you had to watch this game because you didn't know what you were going to see out of that team, and they dominated like nobody else I've ever seen. And he's the guy that was running the show, and he did a great job with Dallas. But I'll forever remember Jimmy in the orange and green of the University of Miami Hurricanes.
Well put by both of you guys, but for me, it's the hair. Plain and simple.
Oh, well, come on.
It's the hair. Hall of Fame hair. You talk about the coaching, but you're burying the lead. The hair hasn't moved in 50 years. It looks great.
Hey,
it's like he's still playing in Arkansas.
That's part of his charm. And because of the whole package he brought to the table, you had a legend in Tom Landry. Jimmy Johnson walks in. He goes 1-15. How many people, forget about the X's and O's, how many people could survive that and thrive in that? And Jimmy Johnson and the hair did.
I don't know if he can thrive in it, but Mike Norvell just survived something just like that. So we'll see if Florida's taking it.
But look, a great guy, a good personality, and you know what? Whenever you think of him, I think you think of him as a South Florida guy, right?
Yeah.
Florida Keys.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Someone let him know the Game Changers crew, we're coming down to the Big Chill. We'll see you this weekend. That'll do it for our show
Drinks
today.
are on Goldie.
Yeah, drinks are on Jimmy. Come on.
Okay.
Hang on, I think I lost the audio.
No,
What'd you
Goldie,
say about him?
no. We'll see you next week.